Voice acting is hard, like really hard. If you've watched any of my videos before, you've definitely noticed that I'm no voice actor at all. Calling me an amateur might already be an overstatement. I mean, am I an amateur singer because I sing in the shower sometimes? No. Am I an amateur dancer because I fucking vibe to anime openings? Of course not. Am I an amateur comedian because I make unfunny jokes on the internet? Point being, not all voice acting performances are created equal, especially when comparing anime to their dubbed counterparts. But why? It's not like there aren't any talented voice actors out there. In fact, I can watch any Disney movie ever created and not have a single issue with it whatsoever. So why is it that when I have to listen to dubbed anime specifically, I suddenly get the urge to fucking kill myself? I could make an entire documentary explaining why Japanese voice actors are on average objectively better than their Western counterparts. Fortunately, however, I don't have to. I mean, why would you need me to write an entire fucking thesis when a single sentence says more than enough?
Why didn't you kill me that day? Weren't you gonna break our bond? Sasuke!
Tu não acabaste comigo! Não querias quebrar a ligação! Sasuke!
I've been doing a bit of thinking lately, and I think I found a very simple answer that simultaneously explains why dubbed anime feels so wrong, but also explains why people who do like dubs don't have a problem with it at all. In order to explain this properly, I'll have to tell you a little story about myself. Don't worry, it won't take long, and I promise it will all make sense in the end. Anyway, if you are an accent specialist able to notice even the slightest of differences between every single European language ever, or you watch the coronavirus video I made, you'll know that I'm Dutch, and therefore have a Dutch accent. However, I don't actually live in the Netherlands. For the better part of my life, I've lived in northern Belgium, where they also speak Dutch, but because of the influence of the southern part of Belgium, where they speak French, Belgian Dutch differs from other normal Dutch dialects by having a unnaturally large amount of random French words. So, this is me, young, optimistic, full of potential. You know, when I still went to school and people had high expectations of me. Anyway, just like any other person in Belgium, I was born at a very young age and was taught how to speak French shortly after. I still remember the very first French lesson I ever had. I don't remember why, but the teacher was asking random students to repeat random French words after him. Anyway, it's my turn. He looks me in the eyes and says, "Benjuhmin, that's me. Say the word, allez." In my mind I was thinking, allez? Dude, seriously? What time is it? Amateur hour? At least give me something challenging like mademoiselle or some shit. I look this guy dead in the eye and say, allez. I knew I fucking killed it. I mean, to be fair, how could anyone ever mess up something simple like the word allez? It was at that very moment I noticed the disappointed look on his face and the faint sound of laughter behind me. Hold up. What just happened? The teacher looks me in the eyes and says, again, allez. I was slightly confused, but, oh, okay. Once again, full of confidence, I raise my head and say, allez, followed by even more laughter. I notice the normally pleasant look in the teacher's eyes disappear, like cracks forming in his mask of professionalism, like I finally got a glimpse of what he was truly like. Once again, he looks me in the eyes and says, allez. The confidence I once had was no more. With bits and pieces scattered across the floor, with my eyes already set on the door, I answer, allez. Silence. For just a split second, there was nothing but silence, when suddenly, an explosion! Not a real explosion, an explosion of laughter. I look around and everyone is laughing at me. Everyone except for this one kid. In my time of despair, I turn to the teacher for support, but he just stands there, menacingly. Repeat after me, he said in a slightly aggressive tone. Allez, I answered. Allez, followed by even more laughter. This continued for what felt like an entire day, but was probably closer to like 5 or 6 times. One last time, he tells me to say allez before I finally had enough and go, "That's what I've been saying!" The teacher glares at me for a solid couple of seconds, until he finally just moves on. Without saying a word, without explaining anything, he just moved on. In the end, this day will be remembered as nothing but mild entertainment for everyone who was present that day. A completely forgettable experience for everyone. Everyone except for me, who was scarred for life. The teacher, who seemed a little too disappointed for some reason. And this one kid who didn't laugh at me at all, even when everyone else did. His name? Albert Einstein. No, just some other Dutch kid who didn't know what was going on. Anyway, the reason I told you this story is because I want you to understand that French is a piece of shit language. Oh, what is this video about again? Yeah, right. The reason I told you this incredibly interesting and non-exaggerated story is because I think it is very relevant to the topic of dubbed anime. Let me explain. Most people probably wouldn't notice the difference, but the way I pronounced the word aller was actually incorrect. You see, you are supposed to say aller, but what I was saying was closer to aller, as in all-a, aller, a.
Ay, I like bitch, you was your mess. Ay, can't keep my dick in my pants. Ay.
Which is only slightly different and a mistake that Dutch people make very often when attempting to speak French. The fact that my mistake was completely inaudible to both me and the other Dutch kid in my class, while being absolutely hilarious to every other person, none of which could speak French by the way, just proves that even the subtlest of mistakes can make a big difference when speaking a language. You see, if there's anything I've learned in life, it's that no matter who you are or how much studying you may have done, unless you have significant experience speaking in a foreign language, in practice you will always sound stupid when trying. Unless you are Dutch, in which case it doesn't really matter if you have experience, you will sound stupid regardless. My theory is that anytime an English voice actor tries to pronounce a Japanese word, it just feels odd. Just like how the kids in my class could tell there was something off about my French, even people with minimal exposure to the language can just feel when something is wrong. This also explains why the Pokemon dub in particular is, in my opinion, pretty good. Not only in English, but in Dutch as well. The localization teams for Pokemon made the decision to translate not only every single name of every single person, Pokemon, and location, but they also translated the names of every single move. I never thought about this before until recently, but obviously the move Flamethrower is not called Flamethrower in Japanese. I mean, I should have known this. I grew up calling it Vlammenwerper. My conclusion is that the more thoroughly the script gets translated, the better the dub becomes, and that there's a direct correlation between the amount of Japanese words in a dub and how shitty it is. Do you think it's a coincidence that whenever people talk about the best dubs of all time, they always mention shows like Cowboy Bebop, Death Note, or Fullmetal Alchemist, where not a single main character has a Japanese name? You know, the names they say dozens of times an episode. What I'm saying is that the English voice actors aren't bad at all. The problem is not the quality of the production, but the limitation of what a native English speaker can realistically achieve when speaking Japanese words. Even in the Naruto dub part from the beginning of the video, you'll notice that in every single language, the Sasuke part is by far the worst offender. Just to make it clear, this is not a problem specific to Western voice actors. Even the superior Japanese voice actors have trouble pronouncing foreign words or sentences.
Fuck you! Fuck you, fuck you! Fuck you!
This theory would also explain why people who only watch dubs don't have a problem with dubs. It's because just like the one kid in my class who had zero experience with French, they don't have enough experience with Japanese and therefore are unable to hear the problem. In the end, I don't think it's far-fetched at all to say that English voice actors are not capable of flawlessly pronouncing Japanese words. And that's okay. That's to be expected. Either that, or I'm just retarded. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory!
お前はもう